welcome to another booktube video from me, Lauren, from Lauren and the Books. Welcome to the this is the 7th time we've done it this year, video of me battling first lines of books from my bookshelf. So I go through my bookshelves. Ordinarily I can just pick them off, but when the sofa's in front I can't just pick them off because it means you get to see a lot of my bum. And I pick a book from each colour off my shelf and then I battle them against each other. I've picked them off already and we're ready to get into the battle. The prize, I asked you, I hear you ask, I asked you here, I hear you ask. The book that wins will get added to my TBR for the next month. So the book that wins today will get added to my August TBR, which is interesting because in August this year I'm just reading all Agatha Christie books and Agatha Christie inspired books, and I don't know that any of these sort of fit the bill for the Agatha Christie inspired books. So this might be a nice little relief in the middle of all of my Agatha Christie reading to have a book that isn't related to that to dip into. So let's start with the red book, which is Other People's Clothes by Calla Henkel. This came out in 2021. I know nothing about it apart from I think it's set in Berlin. Yeah, I've just seen it says 2009 Berlin. Okay, so let's hear the first line of this book. Start from the beginning, she insisted, and if I were allowed to smoke, I would have lit a cigarette. That's quite good, isn't it? Start from the beginning, she insisted, and if I were allowed to smoke, I would have lit a cigarette. Okay, well, I mean, that's a good one to start with, isn't it? So there we go. Move on to the next book, which is the orange book, which is Secret Smile by Nikki French. Now, talking of books that aren't related to Agatha Christie, Secret Smile by Nikki French. Nikki French is a husband-wife writing team and they write sort of like mysteries and thrillers, and I mean that would probably fit the bill for an Agatha Christie related book, wouldn't it? I've read quite a few. This one was sent to me by Jen because she's amazing. I've read quite a few of the Nikki French books. Well, we won't read the introduction because that gets things, sometimes introductions tell you stuff what happens in the story. I've read quite a lot of Nikki French books and had moments where I've very much enjoyed the Frida Klein series, but other sort of standalone ones I felt were fine. I haven't disliked any of them, so let's see how this one goes. So this is Secret Smile by Nikki French. I've had a dream recently, the same dream over and over again, and each time I think it's real. I've had a dream recently, the same dream over and over again, and each time I think it's real. Compared with Start from the beginning, she insisted, and if I were allowed to smoke, I would have lit a cigarette. I've had a dream recently, the same dream over and over again, and each time I think it's real. Start from the beginning, she insisted, and if I were allowed to smoke, I would have lit a cigarette. I think it's the dream one. I think it's Nikki French and the dream one. Right, we'll hang on to that. So yellow book, we've got Gears for Queers by Abigail Melton and Lilith Cooper. This was an advanced reader copy. I really like the front cover of this. And it came out in June 2020. So let's have a look. I think it's non-fiction if I remember. Okay. Our friends and family met the announcement of our planned cycle tour with confusion and alarm. Our friends and family met the announcement of our planned cycle tour with confusion and alarm. Yeah, if I remember rightly, this is about a couple going on a big, maybe around Amsterdam or Netherlands or something. Our friends and family met the announcement of our planned cycle tour with confusion and alarm. I mean, I think I'm more interested in it because I know what's to come. I think the actual, which is the purpose of this video, the first line is better, like this is the better first line of, I've had a dream recently, the same dream over and over again, and each time I think it's real. Yeah, I think this is the better first line. Now, next up, we've got The Glass Hotel by Emily St. John Mandel. Now, I've just filmed a video recently about my favourite books of the year so far, and so many people have said that The Sea of Tranquility by Emily St. John Mandel was their favourite book of the year. So, for another one of her books to appear in my grasp in the next sort of few days after that, we'll see. Because I would like to, I've only read Station 11 by her before. I believe this is set in a hotel as well, which is very exciting. Right, okay. 1. Vincent in the Ocean, December 2018. 1. Begin at the end, plummeting down the side of the ship into the storm's wild darkness, breath gone with the shock of falling, my camera flying away through the rain. 2. Sweep me up. Yeah, I don't know if that is doing anything for me. Yeah, it's not. That's sad. Then the blue book is Maps of Our Spectacular Bodies by Maddie Mortimer. This was the winner of the Desmond Elliott Award in 2022. I've got a feeling this book's very sad. Let's have a look. 1. I, itch of ink, think of thing, plucked open at her start, no bigger than a capillary, no wiser than a cantaloupe, and quite optimistic about what my life would come to look like. I, itch of ink, think of thing, plucked open at the start, no bigger than a capillary, no wiser than a cantaloupe, and quite optimistic about what my life would come to look like. Yeah, I don't think that's doing much for me either. It feels a bit flowery and overwritten. So no, not for me. I'm aware this is making it sound like I'm I've said that this would fit the Agatha Christie brief, but I'm not fixing it so that is happening. I want you to know that. Next up is Julia Shaw's The Hidden Culture, History and Science of Bisexuality. Now, historically, non-fiction books haven't done so well on the first line because it's hard to get a sort of like punchy, interesting first line in a non-fiction book, but we'll see. Introduction, I want more. I am bisexual and I've long felt myself wanting more. More in italics. I am bisexual and I've long felt myself wanting more. Saying that, what she's just said about maybe non-fiction books not having the best first lines, I am interested in that because I'm like, bisexual, great, identity, straight away. And I mean, the book's about bisexuality. And I've long found myself wanting more. And I'm like, more of what? I'm interested. Yeah, I think that, sorry, Nicky French. Gone. Next up, the pink book is The Lost Daughter by Elena Ferrante. I read My Brilliant Friend and did not enjoy it at all. So I'm still willing to give Elena Ferrante another, I'm still willing. Eleanor will be so pleased to give Elena Ferrante another go. But I haven't got round to that yet. So maybe this is it. And also the fact that this is slim, nice. And I think this is set on holiday. A woman goes on holiday, am I right? I think it got made into a TV series with Olivia Colman. 1. I've been driving for less than an hour when I begin to feel ill. I've been driving for less than an hour when I begin to feel ill. No, I'm not interested in feeling, that makes me feel ill. Thinking about car sickness, so. By The Hidden Culture, History and Science of Bisexuality is still winning. Then we've got The House Opposite by Barbara Noble. This was bought for me kindly by somebody from my wish list, but I think again, Jen, I got this recommendation from Jen. So we'll, again, skipping the introduction. Once I read a Daphne du Maurier book and I read the introduction. It was Mary Jane by Daphne du Maurier, and I read the introduction and it basically gave away like all that was going to happen. So I always tend to skip the introduction, then read them afterwards now. So chapter 1, Carter came into Elizabeth Simpson's office at 5:45, ostensibly to borrow her paste pot, but actually because he hoped that the sight of him would recall to her mind the Evening Post. I'm into that. Carter came into Elizabeth Simpson's office at 5:45, ostensibly to borrow her paste pot, but actually because he hoped that the sight of him would recall to her mind the Evening Post. So that sort of, from that, the Evening Post sends me back to like, so garnering from that first line is that it's set in the past. I'm interested in the relationship between Carter and Elizabeth Simpson. I don't know what a paste pot is. What could she be wanting to borrow the paste pot for? What could it be? So yeah, I think this is prevailed. The House Opposite. See you later. Bye. See you later. Bye. Then the never-ending Persephone books that are on my green shelf, my grey shelf. This is The Wise Virgins by Leonard Woolf. Chapter 1 begins with words in a garden. Man is not naturally a gregarious animal, though he has become so under the compulsion of circumstances and civilization. No. Man is not natural. No, I don't even need to read it. I know that's not for me. So the last one is a black book, and it is Hit Paradise of Tears. This is a collection of short stories by Azumi Suzuki. I've read a collection of I've read one of Suzuki's collection of short stories, Terminal Boredom, and very much enjoyed it. I think I enjoyed it so much it might even have appeared on my best books of the year so far list. Not this year, maybe last year. So yeah, let's see if I enjoy this one as much. So this is the first line from a short story called My Guy. The first time I saw him, he was in a phone booth near Shibuya Station, but I never would have found him if that creep hadn't been chasing me. That is a good first line. I do find that short stories have very good short first lines because they're trying to get like a lot in. The first time I saw him, he was in a phone booth near Shibuya Station, but I never would have found him if that creep hadn't been chasing me. That, or Chapter 1. Carter came into Elizabeth Simpson's office at 5:45, ostensibly to borrow her passport, but actually because he hoped that the sight of him would recall to her mind the Evening Post. Very different. Very, very different. Passport, Evening Post, Carter and Elizabeth Simpson, phone booth near Shibuya Station, a creep's chasing her. I think the house opposite as well. So there we go. Oh, that was a tight ending, that one. Okay, so as a prize, this gets added to my TBR for August, but also I will now read to you the first 3 lines to see if this might be something that you would be interested in reading. Chapter 1. Carter came into Elizabeth Simpson's office at 5:45, ostensibly to borrow her passport, but actually because he hoped that the sight of him would recall to her mind the Evening Post. This stratagem was effective. She looked up at him over her typewriter, her hands resting on her keyboard, her forehead losing its frown of concentration. Yeah, that does sound really good, and I am excited to read that. So there we go. The winning book of the July episode of First Line Battles. There we go. Let me know what of these first lines you maybe would have gone for. If you've read any of these books, would be interested. Would this have won for you? Let me know, and I'll see you all again soon for another book video. Goodbye!